Have you ever felt like you wanted to be more open with your narcissistic parent and, you know, let them in again, but you're like, sorry, you can't do that. And you don't, you know the reason why, but you really can't. But this part I'm going to read to you really helps put it into good words. So he says, so I'm talking about like having nice conversation with the narcissistic parent. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you're like, ooh, like they seem like they're in a good mood. Wanna maybe we can have a conversation. It's like no. So he says, such affection is not given freely in narcissistic abuse and often comes with a strategic aim. It may be to offset an earlier act of aggression towards you or to set you up to demonstrate how to take advantage of the narcissist take to demonstrate how you take advantage of the narcissist's generosity later. And I feel like this is something that's happened to me, right? So like I let the narcissist back in my life again and everything's kind of like okay until I don't know until they start their abusive behavior again and being mean to you and critical and scrutinizing you. And then you finally have enough and you're like, well, that's enough. And then they're like, how dare you speak to me and disrespect me like that? And then you're like, well, I think I need to cut this person out of my life. Like, I think that's it. I'm done, I'm going to go no contact. But now they're going to use on you that look at all they've done for you, right? Like maybe they did something generous, like paid for a trip, or you guys did something together, or they helped you out in some way, right? But in the back of your mind, you knew that this generosity comes with major strings attached. Well, that is it. So that at the end of the day, when you do have to cut them off, you look like the selfish prick who just cut your parent off after they did these kind things for you, right? It's pretty twisted. It's a bad cycle. And then like the cycle might start again. It's like, or if you I mean, you just have to learn and understand that I don't know, I feel that it has to be one way or the other. Either you deal with the cycles and the accusations, or you cut them off completely and know that you can never, ever, 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 ever ask them for anything. In this show that I watched, um, I forgot what it's called, but it was like kind of like a horror show, and I think I talked about this show on my channel before, but it was um, took place when the segregation laws were in place and stuff, and African American families were moving out to California. So they moved out to California in this predominantly Caucasian neighborhood, and there was one lady that kind of headed up being the leader of everybody ganging up against this family. Um, but anyways, they show that this woman decides that she wants to move out of this community, right? Because these people moved in. And she goes to her rich father, very wealthy. And she wants to ask for money. And it's just a really creepy scene because you know that something ain't right. You're like, okay, how did she get abused? So the father tells this woman's mother or the maid or something to go draw the bath. My daughter's home. Go draw the bath. I was like, oh my God, that's so creepy. She was having to be forced to be molested in order to get something from her father. But anyway, she didn't go through with it. She decided actually at the last minute, she's like, fuck the bullshit. I'm out of here. She almost was gonna do it. So sometimes I think being in a place of desperation or need can pull you back towards the toxic narcissistic parent. because you have no one else, you know? And then it's going to make it look like you're using them because that's how it's all going to play out, you know? But, you know. All right, so he goes, or maybe it is designed to reinforce you putting their needs ahead of your own. The point is that the narcissist's gestures of kindness come with ulterior motives. The awareness you had of your narcissistic parent's ulterior motives made it difficult to trust others' expressions of kindness toward you, right? This kind of goes along with people giving you kind compliments too. You don't believe it. You're just like, oh, no, they're going to think I'm awful in the next second because that's what we're used to. So there is an overlap between the narcissist's occasional kind gesture and someone else's sincere gesture. From the outside, they can look very similar. The way you learn to survive such acts of kindness can make it hard to trust and take in a sincere act of kindness shown you by someone safe today. So yeah, you just kind of get those same nervous system reactions. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? The other shoe's going to drop. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse had to steel themselves inside whenever their narcissistic abuser showed kindness towards them. They described knowing that it was a setup and that the risk lay in letting their guard down to take in the narcissist's kindness. If they did, the person from whom they accepted the kindness would later accuse them. This is it, of being inconsiderate, inadequate, and inferior, etc. If they had let themselves stay open to and believe the initial kindness, the resulting accusations and character attacks would only have hurt much more. So it was with a measure of grit and wisdom that the survivor learned to go rigid inside at these times so as to not take the bait. If this inner experience resonates with you, I hope you can offer yourself some credit for what you managed to do in such a dire situation.